This is a true American castle, an awesome mix of down-home frontier comfort mixed with high-end luxuries with an epic view. Owner Jeff Hussey calls this 13,000 square foot log estate his personal Wyoming wonder.
I thought, wow, if you could take the spa-like, you don't have to leave except to get food type qualities of a great hotel with the spiritual and quiet aspects of a monastery and see if you can stick them together, you might have something.
In all, it took this investment banker 4 intense years to turn inspiration into reality.
I had a spreadsheet that had 120,000 rows in it. It's an enormous challenge just to get it done, but then to get it right, so much more difficult.
Jeff first came here to Jackson Hole, Wyoming after high school as a summer apprentice. He fell in love with the Grand Tetons and came back year after year. When it was time to build his dream vacation retreat, he looked at hundreds of properties before finding these 119 acres with a killer view and a 4,000 square foot guest house.
I'd always wanted to do something just really magnificent, and the setting lended itself to it.
So Jeff spent 2 years staying in the guest house, dreaming up an enormous wish list and construction plans. Inspired by the lodges at nearby national parks, Jeff came up with his own wilderness castle, complete with 6 bedrooms and 10 bathrooms. He started with the giant steel superstructure, then covered it with log veneer and stone accents. Jeff wanted his stamp on every room, starting with the jaw-dropping double staircase that greets guests in the entry. Even though it meant a complex construction project of curving metal and tying it together with log railings.
So this is very difficult to accomplish because they had to be put in here with a crane, and then there were guys in here for about 2 weeks with blowtorches and welding rigs and so forth to heat it up and then bend it and heat it up and bend it to make sure it lands exactly where it needs to land at the top of the catwalk was really one of the most difficult things of building the entire house.
The entry leads to the living space, where Jeff demanded views from every angle. Spectacular vistas dominate the great room, the adjoining dining room, and the kitchen, complete with its own wood-burning pizza oven. Every inch has a mountain view.
That view is called the Cathedral Group. And so, to me, it couldn't be any other way.
When the sun goes down and the view disappears, Jeff needed a focal point inside. So he designed this massive double-sided stone fireplace between the living room and the dining room. It was so big, the house actually had to be built around it. But when it came time to select a mantelpiece, Jeff wasn't satisfied with any of the choices offered by his builder, and then he got a lucky break.
There was a guy who had gone out and scavenged through the local woods and found these specimens. So we went down and just stood by his flatbed truck and picked out, I'll have that one, and I'll have that one, and I'll have that one, and here they are.
Jeff put these aged logs over every one of the half-dozen fireplaces in the home, including the one in his master bedroom. But the star of this bedroom-bathroom suite is his epic hand-carved travertine tub, which is filled from high in the ceiling. Weighing in at a whopping 1,500 pounds, putting it in place was almost impossible.
It was brought in on a crane before any of the structure was done. So we basically had to build this part of the house first. To support a tub this heavy required extra structure both in the foundation and in the floor.
The cost of soaking in style? $25,000. Not content with just one place to soak, Jeff also built an outdoor hot tub, and at one end of the main floor, an indoor pool and another hot tub. Engineers had to create a heated waterfall Jeff insisted on coming from the ceiling.
On a trip to Iceland, I went to this place called the Blue Lagoon, and I was inspired by this waterfall that comes out of the side of the wall at 104 degrees, and I thought, wow, that's cool. I wonder if we could do something like that.
Down the pool room's spiral staircase to the basement, you see what Jeff meant by hotel amenities. Jeff likes to keep active, so he built a huge gym and a spa, complete with dry sauna and steam room. And when friends drop by, there's a large locker room with marble benches and this 700-pound hand-carved Carrara marble sink. It had to be craned into the house, challenging enough. But once it was in, Jeff and his builders had to mount the monster into the foundation by drilling a dozen holes and using rebar and epoxy. The basement level also features a huge circular bar, a billiard and game room, and Jeff's favorite hideaway, his decked-out home theater. It's a sweet spot to watch movies and doubles as a recording studio. But it all had to be torn out and redone.
That was my fault in that I didn't get the design of the theater done before certain parts of the foundation were poured.
2 days after the first concrete went in, Jeff realized the theater floor needed to be 2 feet lower so that the acoustics were just right.
So that involved bringing in a big crane, which then lowered another smaller crane down into this area while the house was still open, took out the concrete, rerouted all the radiant heat tubes, poured the foundation 26 inches lower.
That little mistake cost Jeff $50,000. One more snafu cost him a bundle when he changed his mind about the basement's most unique area, the wine tunnel. Jeff is a wine fanatic and even makes his own. So he created it to hold 2,500 bottles and dozens of barrels. The tunnel is 65 feet long and runs underground, connecting the main house to the garage. But when they were done building it, Jeff had a light bulb moment.
It was like, gosh, this is just long and straight. There needs to be a break in here. We need a place where we can drink wine.
So he had builders dig out more space, put in new supports, and erect this rotunda and tasting area. Jeff spent 6 years making sure every inch of this house was perfect.
The reason to build your own house is that you get what you want. There's just a million little things that need to be done right. You just have to do it.
So how much did Jeff drop to get it just right? The eye-popping cost of this Jackson Hole log castle when we come back. This massive log castle in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, is 13,000 square feet of hotel-like amenities and monastery-style calm. With views from every room, this piece of perfection comes in at almost $33 million. If you've ever wondered what a successful builder would create for his own family, imagine no more. This sprawling 31,000 square foot American castle dominates a 12-acre lot and is surrounded by epic play spaces. The inside of this massive home is even more impressive. With a 40-foot living room with 2 fireplaces, a formal dining room, a walnut library, a professional chef's kitchen, and its own elevator. Just don't ask how many bedrooms there are.
I don't know. There's 11 or 12 bedrooms, something like that.
Joe and Kristen Farrell stopped counting after adding a 2-lane bowling alley, a skateboard half-pipe for the kids, and another elevator, this one for the cars. Joe Farrell is a former oil trader turned builder. He's created more than 250 exclusive homes in the Hamptons on Long Island, New York. But none as grand as the home in Bridgehampton that he and his wife Kristen built for their family of 5.
We'd always go to the beach, and he liked to build sandcastles. So I said to him one day, you finally built your big sandcastle. And it stuck.
Oh boy, did it stick.
So the house is called Sandcastle.
Grateful for their success, Joe and Kristen wanted to create a place to share with their extended family and friends.
We found this unbelievable tract of land. It was 1,000 feet from front to back.
With 12 acres to work with, the project got a little out of control.
I lived here for 3 months, and someone said, how many bathrooms does it have? And I said, you know, I don't know. And when I counted them, it was a little ridiculous.
So how does a house grow to 15 bedrooms with 19 baths?
How it really began was we designed this huge basement first, and then we had to design a house to go on top of that. So we needed a long house because of the bowling alley, okay? And then we added the squash court and an underground garage and everything else. So we had no choice but to build this really large house.
And that large a house needed an enormous foundation.
One of the biggest challenges was when you pour a foundation, you know, the concrete that the house sits on, you have to do a continuous pour. You have to do it in one day. You can't stop anywhere.
There wasn't a single supplier that could give Joe that much concrete in a day.
And I've got like 50 concrete trucks from 2 companies starting at 5 in the morning, and we didn't finish till 9 at night. So it was insane. That was the toughest thing to figure out, but we did it. And nobody else could get concrete in the Hamptons that day.
With a gigantic foundation in place, the Farrells kicked into overdrive.
When you're a builder, You can dream anything and you can build it, right? The list kind of just grew. We wanted the big mudroom to accommodate all the kids. We did the elevator goes to the attic. We did a flower cutting room.
A package room.
A package room.
A walk-in refrigeration room.
3 levels later, and the Farrells had a house that can easily sleep a small army.
On our Cousins Weekend, as we call it, where we invite the whole family to come, we've slept up to 60. That's a lot of company, and they never want to leave.
And who can blame them? This modern-day castle has a massive home theater, a full-size gym that overlooks a squash court that converts to a basketball court, and more play space than you'd ever dream possible.
Really, a house this size would take 3 to 5 years to build.
But once Joe started, he didn't want to wait that long. So he fast-tracked the project, cutting the schedule down to 18 months.
So that was the biggest challenge of the project, was the time frame. Because I just needed to be done with it. It was exhausting, and I never miss my schedules, ever.
And he wasn't going to miss this one.
Usually you have a construction manager for a house. I had one for every floor. Then I had one for outside. So I had 6 managers here.
6 managers and 100 people working 7 days a week, including Kristen and Joe.
So, you know, it was just mad. I had someone out on the street just to park the trucks.
How else can you turn out a 2,800 square foot master bedroom with an ensuite bath bigger than most homes? Or design a tree house with its very own zip line? Or create a major league diamond for the big kids?
So this is really my favorite thing about the entire house, having a baseball field in the backyard. And if I ever left, this is what I would miss the most. Every Thursday night, my whole company plays a different team, and these are the funnest nights of my life spent in this house, right here.
The Farrells turned out a massive showplace of a home in 18 months. 10,000 square feet of it in the basement alone.
We wanted a bowling alley, and we had to have a squash court and a basketball court, and, you know, the kids' room.
The kids' room modeled after a resort where the family had vacationed.
And it's called the Air Lounge because when you walk in that room, the sky's the limit.
The kids can ride the half pipe, practice their slap shots, and wail on the drums, all in one room. But this subterranean game complex goes on, past the bowling alley and arcade that rings in at $350,000. And then there's Joe's multi-sport man cave. They built for squash, then added 12 feet to make it racquetball ready. And for basketball, Joe went with a convertible.
So when it's time for squash, this basketball court just folds up and goes into the wall.
Kristen's favorite escape is also on the lower level.
So this is the spa. This is our relaxation room. Joe and I like to get away from the kids a little bit down here.
It's decked out with massage tables for 2, heated tile floors, and a fireplace.
So on rainy days in the Hamptons, all our friends call and say, so what are you doing? Because they know we have the bowling alley and the Air Lounge and the spa.
And the sunken tennis court, an outdoor kitchen, and a massive pool big enough to hold a swim meet.
I think the pool's 60 feet or 65 feet. But if you put anything smaller, it looked ridiculous.
And you can't supersize the pool without supersizing the pool house.
Nothing's really normal here.
Not even the garage.
My architect said to me, you know, according to town zoning, I can only fit a 3-car garage because the house is so big, you're at maximum lot coverage.
But room for just 3 cars wasn't gonna cut it for Joe. So he created double-decker parking and a car elevator using high-grade hydraulics.
We have lifts that send the cars up so you can park underneath them. Like every house should have.
Of course.
All kidding aside, Joe and Kristen say their sandcastle in the Hamptons is every fantasy come true. All the better for sharing it.
We love having people here because otherwise, what's it all for? It's just a total family environment. So rather than go out, we really like to just bring everybody here and keep the party here.
So what does it cost to create the ultimate sandcastle with something for every member of the family? The mind-blowing answer when we come back. It's the size of a small hotel with an outdoor sports complex, an underground playground, and enough bedrooms and baths to house a small army. The price for building everything you could possibly want in your own Hamptons sandcastle? $43.5 million.